Awesome. Can everyone hear me? Fine.
Yep.
Hello. Yep. Rachel, are we good? Should we get started?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight for this event, Expectation of Graduate in the Workforce. The ones who are joining for the first time, welcome to the C event. Next slide, please. So first thing first, let's sign in. So you can scan or hover over to this link and you can go and quickly sign up. This is just to make sure that we have who attended this event or not. And in order to get into the resume bank, you need to attend one of the workshops. So we just want to make sure that who all attended this event. Next slide, please. So today's agenda is going to be, we are going to talk about how we are going to navigate our way to full-time job opportunities. Then we are going to discuss about what are the expectations once you enter the workforce, followed by our talk by Atira, who's ASU alumni. She's an SD at GoDaddy, followed by talk by Pranjali, who's SD at Amazon. Next slide. So let's talk about navigating our way to full-time job opportunities. Next slide. So the first point is updating your resume. This is the most important part. We often end up submitting the same resume for all the companies, but we want to make sure that we make two to three variation of our resume. Um, like I did two variations of my resume. One was the generic one, and the second one was specific to machine learning. So you can make variations of your resume based on what job roles are you are applying, and make sure you match to the job description and submit those resumes. I also added like a few relevant project which was there from my current semester. I usually never used to do that, but I remember I did one project from my current semester, and like my interviewer ended up liking that project, and we actually spoke about 20 minutes solely on that project. So I would say if you know that project well and you've not really completed it, but it's more or less 70 to 80% done, but you're confident enough to discuss that project, go ahead and add that. Um, Next would be again modifying the cover letter. This is again similar to resume. Not all companies expect the same skill sets. So what you need to do is you need to do more modifications based on what the company is expecting based on the job description. So what I would do is I would keep a generic version of my cover letter, and I would like modify a few lines based on the job description, like why am I interested in that company, uh, or maybe try to match what the job description, the skill sets that I currently have. I would modify my cover letter accordingly. This I would do for the cover letter. Um, Next one is attending conferences. So there are some amazing conferences out there. So I would say just go ahead and attend those. So SWE already has its own conference every year, and if you apply quite early, you might end up getting scholarships. There are also other conferences like GFC or SHPE, and they usually have a career fair as well associated with it. So it's a good place to increase your professional network. And if you're like attending these conferences, then make sure that you practice your elevator pitch before you attend those career fairs. And also there's some really good resources on YouTube for practicing your elevator pitch. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was apply early for these conferences, because I remember I ended up paying some amount for attending these conferences, but I know ASU sponsors a lot of grad students for conferences, and you can apply early, approach your professors, and you might not have to spend any penny for attending these conferences and get most out of it. Um, the next one would be just look for keywords. I know it can be very difficult searching for jobs, and so look for the right keywords like new grad or entry level when you're doing that search for the full-time opportunities. Um, Then the next one would be utilizing your personal network, which is really important for, especially for me. I remember I was talking about job hunt with one of my friends that I met through SUI, and she said that why don't you attend this upcoming conference? And I actually ended up getting an internship at that conference. So I would say just look around. I mean, there are just people willing to help you. So you might utilize your personal network and grow from there. Um, also, also one of the interviewing website that I want to talk about was Pram. That really helped me prepare for interviews. That also I got through because through my personal network again, and I have links to all of these in few next slides. Um, and the last one is it is really important to keep daily track of your progress because we want to know that uh, where you stand right now and if you're going, if your pace is good enough or not. So personally, what I did was I maintained a Airtable, and I like maintained all the records what I was applying and where like what stage of interviews did I reach, like if I've given any online assessments or not, and make sure that I wrote those. Um, and I shared that with my few of my friends, Airtables. So once in a while, I could just peek into their Airtables and make sure that if I'm missing out on any job opportunities that they might have applied. So that way you get to know that you're not missing out on anything. So you can actually form a network of few of your close friends and keep track of what of your progress. That way you know better. Next slide, please. Yeah, I also wanted to mention internship because one of the easier way to get into full time is if you intern at a company. As statistics show that 59% of interns were offered a full time position, and 73.3% accepted the offer. So I would say, in getting if you are getting internship, that would be great, and because firstly perks are you get less number of interviews for internship. It is typically 1 to 2 interviews versus 4 to 5 interviews for the full-time job. So definitely focus on internships. Next slide. So, as I said, focus on internships is really important, especially summer internship, because there are many internships that are offered in summer. But I would say that emphasize on the last semester internship as well, because that's the time where your employee might think that once you graduate, you want to continue with that internship as a full-time employee. So I know a lot of students focus on the last semester only on the full time, but I would say apply for both, like full time as well as internship. And again, once you get internship, it is really important to network with your coworkers because this strategy is much more important because once you enter the job, it is really important to build the connection within and outside the organization. um, then secondly, it is very important that you communicate with your mentors and manager because it is important that what they think of you and what it takes for an intern to join the company on a permanent basis. So I would say just ask for feedbacks and it'll help you understand the pace based on the feedbacks that you receive from your mentors and managers. Um, and the last one would be, yes, show engagement and be consistent performance. So you can take this by taking internship as a learning experience and showing that you can make a career out of it. So be dedicated or focused and having an excellent internship performance will definitely catch the eye of hiring manager and it can boost your chances of getting full-time job. Next slide, please. So now that we've spoken about how we are navigating to our way, let's talk about expectations of graduates in the workforce. Next slide. Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to talk about are feedbacks. So the feedback that we receive in workforce is often very qualitative than quantitative, which can be very confusing for students, which are fixated on a very specific grade, because that's what we are taught. We understand like where we fall on the overall class curve, but we don't understand necessarily what the feedbacks that are received from the managers or organization, because we don't know where exactly we fall. So um, usually the feedbacks that we receive in schools are in written form, with with less opportunity to do like a face-to-face interaction or discussion. So this might be a transition that we receive in workforce versus in school. So it is really important to receive both positive as well as negative feedback with professionalism. And also it is important to take negative feedback and work on it. This is something that that'll be different in the workforce in rather than in school. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the next one is responsibility. So the entire goal of college is, at least from a learning standpoint, is to develop our knowledge base and critical thinking capacity. In school, we are mostly accountable mainly to ourselves, but in professional world, in contrast, there's typically much more at stake. Mistakes might have some consequences. You're not only accountable to yourself, but to your team, your division, and your organization. So in this case, a mentoring can, of course, play a very critical part. It can offer like a range of options and path to success. So what here we could do is like reach out to experienced friends and family uh, uh, to learn as to how they did this transition to take up the responsibility. So this could mean like recognizing soft skills that are lacking and like developing a plan to improve them. So here is more responsibility, I would say. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here, the last point that I want to talk about was relationships. So relationships in professional world are also very different from that in college. So here we see in school, generally we make friends mainly through interactions in classes or through extracurricular activities. And there's very little pressure to keep up the relationship that we don't enjoy. It is also about but in a workforce, it is not exactly the same. It is about building a robust network of colleagues who can like help you succeed at your job and advance in your career. So this might mean that you want to interact with people with different ages, background, and interests. And this might also mean that you want to develop a connection with your manager, because that is someone who might have a power over your career ladder. So you might want to make sure that you, um, because interaction with your manager can have a major implication at your success. So unlike college, where you can simply avoid people by not taking like classes where of the same professor that they don't want, you can't do that in your professional world. So you have to deal with professionalism and work with people that you like it or don't like it. So you need to find ways to manage difficult relationships in a productive and professional manner. Next slide. So these are few important links that I found useful while I was preparing for interviews. Um, Next slide. So next, I would like to invite Athira, who's a SD at GoDaddy, to talk about her experience.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible? All right. First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Heads up, this is the first time I'm speaking in an event, so there could be a lot of slip of tongues. I'm just giving you a heads up. And first of all, Pranjali, it's an amazing presentation, and you kind of went through most of the points. You kind of touched up on most of the points which are expected in a workforce. So anyway, let me just reiterate. Before that, I'll give you an introduction about myself. So I'm Athira. I am a Spring 20 grad from ASU, and I am right now working as an SDE at GoDaddy. Before joining GoDaddy, I was working at ADP, Automatic Data Processing, for a few months. Then I joined GoDaddy. So so when I was like planning to give this talk, I thought like what I should talk about. And then I was going through like Pranjali's presentation, which was like really, really good again. So I wanted to touch upon certain things before, going to the expectations in workforce from grad. So one important thing is about conferences. Please attend conferences. I got the job in ADP from GHC 2019, and I was able to make a lot of connections there, which was later, you don't know, you never know whether it could be useful in future or not, but it's really, really good to attend such conferences. A lot of good conferences are there. Women in Tech conference, I think the IT Regatta, and there is another thing, Fairy God Boss. So like attend all those conferences, and now it's virtual, so you don't even have to spend money to like go to places or get the ticket. So yeah, please do that. And another thing which Pranjali pointed out is Pram. It's a very good platform. It's not just for like technical interviews. There are like behavioral mock interviews and all, and you will get great feedback. So you will do both positions. You will be an interviewer and an interviewee. So you can be in that hot seat and like ask questions, and from the answers they are giving, you will have an idea. Okay, I can also talk in that way. I can present things in that way as well from the other person. So please do that as well. So, okay, let's come to the expectations of, expectation from workforce. So right now I am in an entry level role as an STE1. And to be honest, so if there are like students who are in other branches, I'm sorry, like I'm talking about software development, just map it with your specialization. That's all I would say. So if you are an entry level, job, to be honest, they don't expect a lot of things from you. They don't. They just expect the basics of things. If you're a software engineer, you know the basics of software design. If you are in an industrial engineer or an electrical engineer, you know the basic. If you're a master student or a bachelor student, so that's what they are expecting. They are expecting you to be problem solvers. If they're giving you a problem, they don't expect you to find out a big solution or anything. They are expecting you to find out, okay, I can go this, then I may reach a solution, or maybe the other way, the pros and cons of going through way one, or like pros and cons of going through way two. So that is what you have to give importance to, like always, whenever you are getting some task in the workforce. And to be honest, when you are joining as an entry level or like as a new joinee, they won't give you a big task or something because they also know like you are just straight out from school. So what all things you can do. So yeah, that's the one important thing to expect. And second thing is reach out if you have questions, if you are like, stuck somewhere. And that's one of the best method. And I would say the one trick I use is I reach out to people who joined just before me, maybe 3 months or a year back, because I'm pretty sure they must have gone through everything which I am going through. And especially if you're a person who feel imposter syndrome or something, that is the best way, because if you're like scared to talk to a senior developer or something. So if you're talking to a peer, you won't feel that much pressure. So that's a trick I always use. If it doesn't work out, I go to like other person, senior level or something like that. And so please do that. And another thing I would say is ask questions. No questions are like dumb. Ask questions, ask away. If you're getting a task, if you're in a meeting, and if you don't understand something, just ask away. And especially when you are a new grad, you are allowed to ask like dumb question, like any number of dumb questions. Like you can ask, fine. New grad are supposed to ask dumb question. If you're not asking any questions, then they will think you are dumb. Otherwise, like all questions are allowed. So for 1 year, you can ask any number of questions you want. There's no issue with that. But that being said, if you get a task, don't just jump to somebody and ask, okay, I have this task, please help me. No, never do that. do your research. If you're getting any task, do your research. If somebody has already done that thing, something similar, or anything like that. So first do that, do your homework, and then you feel like, okay, I'm stuck somewhere. Then reach out to somebody. So then you can show them, okay, I have done this. Can you help me with, like, I'm stuck here. I don't know. This is something, this service I'm supposed to, do it, but I'm not familiar with it. So can you help with that? So I would say, when it comes to software development, sorry, again, I'm just pointing to the specialization, but Googling is the best skill you should need. You should know how to Google. You should know what terms you have to put. You should know how to use Stack Overflow, the answers you get and everything. So that is one of the important skill you need. So have that. Like, I'm pretty sure all are like pretty good in that. So yes. So do your research. And one trick I do is, so I think most of these companies, big companies, small companies, mid-sized companies, they always have, I think most of them are right now follow agile methodology. So they have different like dashboards or something to keep track of like the tasks which have been assigned to a team. So what happens, if you're part of a team, every team has a dashboard, a lot of tasks will be there, and every team has a sprint meeting. And this, I'm talking about agile methodology. It can change from company to company, and even the way they are handling tasks can be different. So this is like an overall job assigning process in GoDaddy. So in my team, it can vary from other teams, vary from teams to teams in the same company itself. So what happens, every 2 weeks, there is a sprint planning meeting. During the planning meeting, there are a lot of tasks, and these tasks have certain points, and it will be assigned to you. And in the beginning, you don't have any idea what I'm supposed to do. So mostly your manager or some senior person, they will be assigning the task to you and all. I would say always volunteer. If you don't know what to do, just pick something random. It's fine. If it is big also, it's fine, because you are going to learn something. So don't always stay back. Okay, I don't know. Should I wait for my manager to tell or something? I would say always volunteer for any new task you want. Then one trick I do is, like I said, if you're using agile methodology, some people use Jira as a dashboard, and that is where task has been assigned to everyone. So you can see which task has been assigned to which person in the company. So I always go back whether these similar tasks, these keywords have been assigned to somebody before. Has anybody done any similar task? And I check, okay, this program, that person has changed. So this is my method. Like, everyone has their own way to do research. I'm just giving an example of doing research. So do like that. And next thing is, always take notes or like record the meeting, just like you're recording this meeting, record the meetings if you want. And don't feel ashamed to ask that person, can I record it? Because they are always okay. Mostly always ask the permission first. So I remember there was this instance, there is a senior engineer, and I got a task and I was talking to him. So during the first meeting, I was so ashamed to ask him, like, can I record this? So he talked about a lot of things, and I missed 25% of the things because I was not familiar with that. Then in the next meeting also, he repeated the same thing, and I was ashamed to ask him again, can I record it? Also, I missed 25% of things he said. So third time I realized it's better to be ashamed to ask, can I record this meeting, rather than like make him say the things again and again. So always to be ready to ask questions, ask permission for recording the conversation, especially during remote work. Take notes. It will always help you in future. You will be doing a similar task. There will be always this nitty-bitty things you may forget, and if you have those notes or records, like, it will always help you. And next thing is, find a mentor. I believe like every organization has mentorship program. When it comes to GoDaddy, we have a women in tech group, and there you can ask for a mentor, and they will assign you a mentor. And especially if it is a person from STEM industry, and especially it's a woman, it's very easy for you to relate with that person, that person's journey. And I would always say, find a person who is out of your team circle for career-related mentorship. For your skill related, team related, of course, you can find a lot of mentors in your team. But when it comes to career related mentorship, that would be my advice. So whenever I face some issues, like sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough. During my first few weeks, I thought like, was I got it just because of luck, or am I a bad hire or something? And I was going through like lot of like mixed emotions. And I reached out to my mentor and she said, okay, don't worry, everyone goes through the same thing. It's not just you, you're not alone in the world. So it's good to have such support system. So you don't need to have a single mentor. Find as many mentors as you want. It's good, like, so you don't have to disturb one person, right? So you can call other person. So find mentors, join women in tech groups or other groups like software groups, etc. So when it comes to GoDaddy, there are different groups like Women in Tech group, then Women in Tech Kirkland, Women in Tech Arizona. Then this, since we are using .NET group, maybe Java group. So join all kind of such groups, learn more. It will help you to like, network, find people. If you have some questions, you see in the group, okay, this person is answering a lot. Maybe this person is really knowledgeable. I can like approach that person, etc. So that's another thing you can do. And the most important thing is make sure you have a one-on-one conversation with your manager, because in the end, that person is gonna, give appraisal to you, gonna evaluate you. So it's good to have that conversation with the manager. I would say every week or like once in 2 weeks, please do that. And during the one-on-one, you can talk to your manager about the progress you have made so far, like what you have learned, what you couldn't learn, what you want to learn, or are you stuck somewhere? Do you need somebody's help for something? So saying all those things are not weakness. Some of us feel ashamed. Okay, should I say this? Don't, because ultimately this person, he or she, is going to be evaluating you. So whenever you're stuck somewhere, just tell that to your manager, and always ask for feedback as well. So initially I thought, should I ask feedback? What if he or she say something negative? I don't want to hear that. So don't be like that. If it is positive or negative, accept the feedback. And if it is negative, I said it's a good thing. So you found out something to improve, right? So work on it if you're getting any negative feedback, and improve yourself. And always update or upgrade your skills, even if you're working. Like, all these organizations give a lot of learning platforms. GoDaddy gives like LinkedIn Learning. I think ADP was giving me Udemy, and I believe each company has their own like association with these learning platforms. So make use of it. Like, make sure like every day, half an hour or 1 hour, you learn something and upgrade yourself. And don't stop networking once you join a company. Keep networking. Network within your group, outside your group, in the same company, outside the company as well. Suppose after working in a team for 3-4 years, you may get bored. You learned everything. Work is boring if you are that kind of person. So if you have connections outside your team, and okay, this team is doing some interesting work, I can join that team. So it's good to have like connections outside your team as well. And I would say don't ignore LinkedIn after joining Workforce. Always like update new projects. Oh, don't look at my LinkedIn. It's really bad. I haven't. I have to do it. Whatever I'm saying, I have to put it into practice, but please do that. It's really, really important. And last thing, work really hard. At least the first 3-4 months of your career, work really hard. And I would say, it's fine. You can stay late, learn, or like learn and learn and learn. And there are things you don't know. It's fine. You are trying to learn. So it will be always like visible in your work. If you work hard, it will be always there. Of course, there are shortcuts and everything, but I believe in working hard. So I would advise everyone to like work hard and keep working hard. So that's all I have to say. So anybody has any questions? Thank you. Okay, have you put it in chat or something? Or let me know if you have any questions. So
yeah, we can go over the next slide, Rita.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Athira.
All right, hi. Thanks, Athira. It was wonderful. I think you covered almost everything now. In addition to the slides that Pranjali was already presenting and Athira's point. So I don't really have much, but yeah, hi, let me introduce myself. I am Pranjali Jagtap, and I graduated from ASU in May 2020. And currently I'm a software engineer at Amazon. I work in AWS Lambda team, and I live in Seattle. And in my free time, I like to read books or paint a little. And I also volunteer with an NGO, The Art of Living, while organizing breath and meditation workshops. And I'm a trained by Art of Living also to lead online meditations. So if you're stressed or something, feel free to ping me. I can do that. And yeah, so let's talk about the expectations of graduates. Also, by the way, a little bit of pre thing. Whatever I'm sharing is just my opinion and my perspectives. It does not represent the employer at all. So yeah, just to put it out there. And let us keep it interactive. Feel free to ask me any questions that you may have. Like I have just been in the workforce about only 8 to 9 months. So it's not like a lot of time. So it's just 8 to 9 months of where you will be, I guess, in your career in coming future. So yeah, feel free to ask me any doubts you have, any questions that you may have. All right, so why don't we start by discussing about what do you think? What are your some of your expectations from yourselves as you start graduating and start like working in the professional life? What do you think? What are some of your thoughts? I would like to hear them.
Pranjali did a great job of talking about internships, and I have internship experience. So one of my thoughts / fears, I guess you could say, is what the expectations are and differences are as you start as like a first or like an entry level engineer, and how that might differ from those internship level like expectations and that kind of thing. So those are some of my thoughts, I guess, in general, you could say.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's totally valid. And I also had the similar doubt or fear, when I did my internship before. Yeah. Would some of you also like to share? Anyone else? Any thoughts of yours? You can also type it in the chat if you want. Okay, and by that time, let's start with the point that Rachel brought it up. That's a really good point, that when you're internship, you are in the internship, you mostly get the benefit of doubt. Oh, you are just an intern, you still have to go back to school, and it's a temporary project, and there are a lot of you're given kind of, it's not like a lot of high expectations. And when I was an intern, even I felt like, oh, so since you're saying this now, when I get a full-time job, I'll be expected to like do much better than this or something. So yeah, I also had that question. And a great way to answer this would be, if you're going back to the company where you interned before, they would expect that you have crossed that barrier of not knowing what the company does, like who the customers are and what is the basic system. So they would just expect you to know, the basic things which a person who is just into the company for like first month, that person wouldn't know, but you are expected to know that. But other than that, they don't really expect you to like right away get on working. And they also understand that it's been maybe a year or 6 months before you intern, and they would have that consideration also. And yeah, and also the companies, they are aware that you may have a little industry experience, but you are expected to have solid grasp in fundamentals, the fundamentals that whatever you have learned as part of your major, basically. And you're expected that you might need guidance in your work. So don't worry if you feel like, you don't have to do it all by yourself. There will be people who will be specifically assigned to, guide you initially. So don't worry about that. And basically in the initial days, in any company you are working on, right, especially in the software, a senior engineer will help you with a design, and you will be just expected to convert it into code. Or in another industry, it would be something like there's a design on paper, you have to develop it in the real life situation. And in the initial days, you will just be given smaller components with mostly straightforward applications. So basically, the first 6 to 7 months are almost, there are not a lot of complications. You just have to get to know the system better, get to know the customers that you're working for the company that better. And nowadays, a lot of corporates have these culture or values. In Amazon, we have like leadership principles. So make sure whatever company you will work for, make sure you're familiar with those values, because a lot of times you are also evaluated on based of those values. So they of course, they will also have some guidelines about how you need to go ahead and match those expectations regarding to those values. And in addition, I would also say, yeah, like Adira mentioned, a really great point about asking questions. There are no silly questions, but there is a little bit of thing that I can add to that, that to have your question more effective, make sure you also inform them certain points, like what you have already tried before, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, explain the use case and necessary details. And that will also, so in this case, when you're asking a question, the other person will appreciate you already have tried these things and you have already done your research, right? They will get to know that. So it's a good point. And also, I would say, like Atira mentioned, keep learning. Even like in my personal experience, when I graduated, I was like, okay, I'm done with school, I'm just going to apply, but that's not true. You have to keep learning, like things keep changing. So in addition to application, you also have to like be on your toes and keep learning. And I would also say, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Initially, it is a tendency, even I face, like if I make a small mistake, I would be like, oh no, now what will happen? So don't be afraid, it is okay. This is what I have learned until now from my mentors and from my managers, that if you make a mistake, make sure you acknowledge it and make sure you apologize and make sure you put in some measures that the mistake won't happen in future, either from you or even from your colleagues. So those filters are in place, and that would just mean that you are a really good engineer. We are all humans, we all make mistakes, but having that thing in place, right? Making sure that won't happen later, that is a sign of a good engineer or a good worker, I would say. Yeah, and also in the workforce, when you enter there, there is no me versus them, it's all like us. So yeah, just be like a part of a bigger culture together. There's no grades and there's no curve in this place. Mostly it is about just you meeting the criteria of the job description. So yeah, that is the last thing I would like to mention. Yeah, that is all I have in addition to what Athira and Pranjali already shared. If you have any questions or fears or doubts, you can feel free to discuss.
Thank you so much. I have one question for either of you or both of you if you want to speak on it. Do you have any experiences or any kind of thoughts on feeling like your expectations coming in as a new hire but with a graduate degree was different or higher, or just looked, or maybe they were the same as maybe the expectations for your equivalent counterpart who's also starting a new job, but maybe only with their bachelor's? Did you feel like there was some sort of difference there because you had a secondary degree coming in, or did you feel like it was kind of the same? Or maybe you don't even know, I don't know, but just any kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't faced this situation yet. So I don't have a real life experience example, but I would say when I was interning, I had some people who were just in their bachelor's and I was doing my master's degree. So with that experience, I can say that there was a little bit of more expectations from a master's intern versus the bachelor's intern, in case that a master's intern would understand the design, like I'm using the software terms again, but yeah, there will be a better understanding of the overall picture, I guess, the bigger picture on how your component is working together with the whole picture. So I guess that was a little bit of that. I found that was the expectation which came out there. Other than that, with respect to knowing the product, you both are similarly new. With respect to getting to know the culture or the customers, you are equally new. So I did not find much differences in that. Athira, would you like to add, or Pranjali?
Yeah, so if I may add to this, it depends on different team, different managers, different organization. But I believe like if they are like hiring you for a particular position, suppose again software developer, SDE1, whether you have masters or bachelors, your expectation is to do that job properly. So at least from my experience, I don't think they are considering. So I have some prior experience, but I have joined as SDE1. So they are not expecting too much from me because I have some prior experience or because I have masters. So like I said, it depends on each company. But from my personal experience, I think it's based on the job you're doing. If you both are hired to do a particular job, they're expecting you to do that job properly. Maybe the level of learning, it may be a little different, but from my experience, no. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great.
Do we have any more questions?
If anyone wants to put them in the chat, Pranjali or I can read them aloud for you if you can't unmute. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. We can hang around for a couple minutes if people want and give them a chance to write questions. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for your guys' time. We really appreciate you coming out and sharing your experiences with us and for everyone attending. We hope you learned a little bit and we're glad to have you guys. I know the semester is wrapping up, so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity and all the best to everyone for your studies. I'm so happy I don't have to do any assignments anymore. So good luck, everyone.